All right, earlier in the show, we showed you the Marlins' rough weekend in Atlanta. But, Clay, they've had a great season so far that apparently we haven't covered well. At least it's according to a few colleagues of ours in the business who feel that local TV stations, including Local 10, have not done a fair job of covering the great stories on this team. It started with Craig Minervini, who hosts Marlins studio shows, a friend of mine who I respect. But he went on a Twitter rampage this week filled with criticism.
Yeah, it was kind of like every day opening Twitter was like a daytime soap opera.
Yeah, it kept going. And I feel all local stations do a great job with daily coverage, including highlights, reaction, analysis. But Craig has opened my eyes that we can do better. So let's right the wrongs and fix the injustices we've done in our Marlins coverage. I'm going to go over here, if you don't mind. I'm going to come recap. I'm sorry, wait for me here. Recap the great stories of the 2016 Miami Marlins season so far. Let's start with D. Gordon. Beloved owner Jeffrey Loria gave Gordon this diamond-filled pendant as a gift for his batting title. Then shortly after that, he was suspended for 80 games by Major League Baseball for violating the league's performance-enhancing drugs policy. Next up is history. Who doesn't love history? And slugger Giancarlo Stanton made that recently. Oh yes, ESPN Stats says that Stanton was the first position player in a half-century to strike out 15 times in a 5-game stretch in which he didn't get a single hit. Another great story is the standings. We apparently don't update viewers on the great playoff race going on. So here are your up-to-date standings in the National League East. The Fish are right in the mix, battling to get out of 4th place in a 5-team division ahead of only the Braves, who are the worst team in baseball and have beaten the Marlins 5 of 6 times. Marlins also made national news recently, and we failed to report it, so let's change that mistake. The Miami New Times reported that 9 former season ticket holders and 2 vendors are being sued by the team for bailing on agreements. Now, those people say the Marlins promised things they didn't deliver. But who can blame the Marlins for suing? It's only season ticket holders. Who needs those? Finally, my favorite story, Ichiro Suzuki, the ageless one, hitting the baseball like crazy and approaching 3,000 career hits. We've apparently ignored the story, though. So to give proper coverage, here's Ichiro's great reaction after a recent 4-hit game.
It was a baseball game tonight. It was a tough game, but you just felt like you were playing the game of baseball. That's just how it felt to me today.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And that is the 2016 Miami Marlins season recap so far. We can now start from scratch and give you better daily coverage about those great stories. But to Craig and MLB writer Joe Frisaro, who I also respect, but also criticized local TV coverage this week, promise me something. Enough with the silly narrative that we want the Marlins to fail. It couldn't be further from the truth. As the Heat have proved, the Panthers have learned, and the Dolphins are working on, there's nothing like covering a winner. I root for the Marlins. And just look at all these hats. I hope they surprise and make a big playoff run. But don't blame us for the team's mistakes that you perceive as unfair coverage. I promise, sure, we'll do better. Only if you leave the TV critiquing to people who actually watch local TV. Stick to what you know, like reaction from the middle relievers after the games, and not what you don't know, like taking a loss when you're clearly wrong.